want to welcome you. Thank you for coming today. My name is Kristen Redman, and I'm an associate professor at San Jose State School of Information. But I've recently been involved in a project that's related to TV Whitespace technology, which is a new networking technology that's basically a public resource. And I've been really excited because I received IMLS funding to support the implementation of networks in Maine. These are rural parts of Maine, Georgia, South Dakota, Yakima Nation in Washington, and I think those are all, and Nebraska. And so today I want to talk about the technology, what it can do for your museum, archive, or library if you are working in tribal library. And then my counterpart today is Jeff Garcia, who has a lot of tech experience. He brings a great perspective today. Okay, so like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about TV Whitespace, its primary role in access and inclusion efforts. I'll talk a little bit about disaster response and how small and rural organizations can lead with this technology. I'll talk a little bit more about those IMLS sub-awards that I mentioned earlier, and share with you an online open course that was recently released that can provide you with additional background on the technology and its implementations. And then we'll talk about frequently asked questions and next steps. Then we'll have Jeff, and then we'll do questions. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm an associate professor in the School of Information, and so my research area has been community-based technology integration, learning design, and I'm very interested in access and inclusion and designing programs and services for diverse populations. I was a librarian many moons ago by trade. Now I'm a faculty member. My PhD's in communication, so I sort of have a diverse background. Okay, so what's TV Whitespace? I'm going to show you this brief video because I think it's really a good, very clean description of what we mean by TV Whitespace.
America, public libraries are buzzing with activity. More people are using public libraries in more ways than ever before. In fact, some 80 million rely in part or entirely on public libraries for broadband internet access. In 2/3 of U.S. towns, libraries are the only source of no-fee internet access. But now, we're going beyond library walls. That's right, library Wi-Fi can support new hotspots in key locations in your community thanks to the power of TV Whitespaces.
Wait, what are TV Whitespaces?
Well, years ago, TV broadcast used analog signals, which were large and spaced far apart. Now, with the switch to digital, TV signals are much more compact and closer together. And the unused space that remains in between these channels? That's TV Whitespaces. They can power Wi-Fi networks with supercharged signals that deliver broadband miles away, passing through obstructions like buildings, trees, and even over small hills. Hotspots can be fixed at locations like public book kiosks, parks, playgrounds, and even public buildings. And they're easy to move, too. Movable TV Whitespace hotspots can turn occasional fairs and markets into free public Wi-Fi zones. As one example, in Manhattan, Kansas, the hotspot goes between the community swimming pool and the ice rink as the seasons change. And if disaster strikes, these remote communications units can be redeployed to quickly assist rescue and recovery. You can increase your community's emergency preparedness by installing units at other community anchors, schools or clinics, for example, creating a backup communications resource that's vital for disaster relief. As a traditional source of public information, libraries are ideal as community labs to pilot this technology and are poised to unlock the revolutionary potential of TV Whitespaces and Wi-Fi together.
When we say the word TV Whitespace, that's what we mean. They're frequencies, portions of the frequency spectrum that were released by the FCC for public usage. We have equipment suppliers now that are building equipment that can take advantage of that release. Okay, so when we're talking about channels, we're talking about unused frequencies in the TV band from 14 to 51. That's basically what the equipment suppliers are building equipment for, those channels right now. It's not to say that they won't build equipment later on for channels further up in the spectrum, but for right now, we're limited to 14 to 51, and that's important when we talk a little bit later on about how to find out if you have channels in your area and if you wanted to engage in next steps. Okay, so like the video kind of pointed out, TV Whitespace enabled remote access points support everyday internet access for their patrons. So basically you have your internet connection coming into your museum, library, or archive, and there's additional equipment that gets installed that allows you to create hotspots out in your community. And so we've had individuals that are interested in implementing hotspots in parks, clinics, schools. Closing the homework app is a great application of this. Lots of different places where these hotspots can be installed. And so again, it's addressing access and inclusion by trying to engage with those underserved populations that just may not, I mean, more and more people are cell phone only, they've dropped their broadband connections, or they never had one to begin with. This is an infographic. Hopefully it's not too small for you to see, but you can see in the top right a remote client radio is connected to a Wi-Fi router. Or actually, let's just start here. The museum or archive at TV Whitespace Space Station connected to the internet access that comes into the organization, broadcasts to remote radios using TV Whitespace frequencies. So those channels that we were talking about are the means by which you can start broadcasting the internet connection. And so all of the places in the community, you can see the remote client radios, the areas of the community that you identify that you'd like to have Wi-Fi would receive one of these remote client radios. And so you would install them. In this case, we see one in a public space, a senior center, a clinic, a shelter, a park event with a portable TV Whitespace hotspot. And that's one thing that's really unique about museums, and they have like exhibitions, they can have exhibitions out in the community, or even like a site of interest that gets a lot of interest by community members. So definitely you can use TV Whitespace in lots of different places. Okay, so again, just to reclaim this point, it allows for the extension of Wi-Fi networks into the community. And the interesting thing and what makes TV Whitespace special is that because it's a public resource, you don't have any monthly fees or carriers. Like a lot of libraries have been piloting these checkout hotspots, for example. A lot of them are like CDMA based with like subscriptions, and so you're paying monthly for access. Once you have the initial equipment investment, you're not going to be paying monthly for the use of the TV Whitespace frequencies. Okay, so another application of TV Whitespace is disaster response. So when we talk about community anchor institutions, we're talking about those institutions in the community that can support access to the internet. Libraries are a great example. Museums have taken on this role less so, but there's definitely room to grow in this area. If you're a museum professional or an archivist, this could be a new role for your organization. With disaster response, because the remote units, they might be in a park, like your plan might be that they're in a park or in a shelter, but in a time of crisis, they're portable. So you can design your implementation so that those hotspots can be moved, or they can move along with your population that's in crisis. So if they're going to a central place, because I mean, we're having these awful fires in California right now, those populations are moving because they're in crisis. They're going to need access to internet connections and other information and communication technologies. And so moving with the population in crisis is important. TV Whitespace provides a means of doing that. And it sort of relates and feeds into the just overall community response grid. So to address community concerns that are under stress. So as I mentioned before, you've got the just access inclusion application of the technology, disaster response, and distributed programming, which is really powerful for museums. You can have portable exhibitions, exhibits out in the community. Some ideas might be, and hopefully you can talk more about this, but geologic formations, archaeological sites, fairs, events, historical sites. You can take your Wi-Fi to an event and really provide another dimension of access for your patrons. Now, the interesting thing about TV Whitespace is that those channels that we talked about early on, you're more likely to have channels available in small and rural areas. And that's because you have broadcasters trying to license those channels for their activities. So if you're small and rural, you're probably going to have more channels between 14 and 51 to choose from, and you'll have less competition from independent broadcasters. Okay. The challenge, though, for small and rural is that you may not have 20 plus Mbps. You may be on microwave, or you may have a really slow connection. Like, you may not even have the broadband that's required to do TV Whitespace implementation. We're seeing that less and less, but there's still some organizations that I've worked with that are still trying to build up their backhaul so that it's fast enough to accomplish this type of project. So with the IMLS funded projects, like I said, we chose 5 sites. Yakima Nation, we're really, really excited about that implementation. It's a large tribe. They have like 39,000 people on the reservation, so that could be really impactful for them to extend Wi-Fi into their community. South Dakota, Nebraska, it's actually Huron, South Dakota, Beatrice, Nebraska, Millinocket, Maine, and Milledgeville, Georgia are sites that we're working on right now. And so some of their ideas that they've come up with for the designs are closing the homework gap, using TV Whitespace in parks, schools, and other community spaces. Of course, everyday internet, to address access and inclusion and crisis response. And so they haven't really talked a whole lot about distributed programming, but that's something that I'm really passionate about and I'd like to see more of. I'm sort of like, well, let's try this. Okay, so one thing that we're doing right now is a TV Whitespace online open course, and it's free, and it's through Canvas Network. And there are 5 modules. And if you just go to, I'm going to click on the site, show you what it looks like when you get there. So that's what it looks like when you go there. And you can just work through the modules. You don't actually have to work through the activities if you don't want to. All of the modules are available. So developing your own plan. So one of the, basically we've talked the entire session about what TV Whitespace is, and we've talked about what's special about it. How do I know if available Spectrum, if you have available Spectrum channels in your area? Spectrum Bridge is a great resource that you can go ahead and check that out. All right, so here we are. So when you're searching for your own channels, make sure that you're searching for a fixed TV Whitespace device. Personal or portable ones would be like a cell phone or a tablet that runs off of TV Whitespace, like accesses the internet that way. You're looking for fixed devices. And we used to be using Google also has a TV Whitespace database. And for a year plus, I was using that database to provide channels, but it seems like they stopped supporting it within the last couple of months. So I'm moved to Spectrum Bridge. Okay, that has channels too. Now this is one thing that I'm working on with a student, is that there are some urban areas, like highly populated areas, that have channels. This is a good example of one that you just shared with me. Spokane, Washington has quite a lot of channels and high density population. So that would be an area of high impact for TV Whitespace, because sometimes with a really rural area, if you implement a network, you might be hitting a few hundred people. But in a place like this, you're hitting thousands and thousands and thousands. You could really provide a network, a Wi-Fi network that's really used by a lot of people, and providing access to underserved. Companies like Spectrum Bridge, they have other ways of searching the database by geographic coordinates. And in fact, when you work with the suppliers, they're going to be working with you on more finer geographic locations. They're not going to be basing it on zip code. This database is designed to give you like a rough idea of what you've got in your location. Another question that we get a lot is, how far can it reach? What kind of throughput can we expect? And if you have the adequate backhaul, the broadband coming in with an appropriate connection, these are estimates 3 to 5 Mbps per channel for up to 7 miles, depending on configuration. I'm talking more 6 miles, and then you'll start to see degradation. I mean, some places are really topographically ideal, and that could be really flat, or it's just there aren't as many challenges, and so you can really push it, and you'll get a good signal further out. But other areas, maybe not so much. But that's a good expectation to go into a project like this. So another question we get a lot is, can we create a 7-mile radius Wi-Fi hotspot. So some people there's a misunderstanding uh, about if you get the TV Whitespace equipment, you put it in your museum, will you now have a Wi-Fi connection that's not just in the walls of the building, but it extends out to the community 6 miles? That's not the case. You can put Wi-Fi hotspots 6 miles out, and they'll have their own, their own area of access around the hotspot. But it won't be a 6 mile radius. It won't be like a 6 mile circle of hotness. You'll have to put the hotspots up to that distance away. And then the cost. He mentioned his project was bid out at $25,000. I've seen some at 22. I've seen some at 7. I've seen some at 9. It just depends on the scope of what you're trying to achieve. When we wrote the IMLS grant for the subawards, we anticipated $15,000 for each site would cover an installation that would be your most common installation configuration. But obviously, if you're going to add base stations, then that raises the price significantly. Another question we have is, how much time does it take to install? Now, Microsoft, for example, has made an announcement that they're totally endorsed, like they're going all in with TV Whitespace, and that has made our suppliers very busy. And so installs that we thought would get done in like a couple of months are extending out because of the equipment availability and the time for the installers, and so they're very busy because it's becoming more popular. But we definitely, we generally say that it might take, like the actual install might take about a week. And in terms of maintenance, some of the sites that were original pilot sites that were funded through the Knight Foundation, they've been really stable once the equipment has been set up, and they don't require a lot of attention or maintenance. So it's not a difficult technology to maintain. So right now, things that are happening right now, we have installations that are in their final finishing stages. We're collecting data for the IMLS project in terms of the impact on network usage. One of our libraries didn't have Wi-Fi before, so their Wi-Fi usage was started at 0, so they're going to see a big increase. Others were already collecting those statistics, and so we're hopefully seeing a big increase in terms of people using their sites, and we'll be doing the reporting for that. We're looking now to find partners that might be interested in finding funding for museum and archival spaces to take the next step. So if you or somebody you know might be interested in doing something like this, drop me an email. We might be able to work together on something. I think this would be a really promising direction for museums to go in. And thank you.
So I want to talk to you guys about the project I worked on earlier this year to put a TV Whitespace connection out in Uzinki. It's just off the coast of Kodiak. So the project that was developed out there was to connect the Tribal Media Center. The Tribal Media Center in Uzinki, Uzinki is an island about 8.5 miles over water from the island of Kodiak. There's a state park that lays kind of out on a peninsula that it allowed for a direct shot of that entire link there. So there wasn't the backhaul, and Kristen had mentioned how the backhaul is necessary to provide TV Whitespace in the community, and a lot of rural communities it's not there yet. So what my project entailed was actually utilizing the TV Whitespace technology to bridge that middle mile gap that was needed to get there. And it's kind of a different idea than some of the other TV Whitespace projects, because they're connected right up to fiber and then broadcasting from there. Where we are, there was no fiber on Uzinki, so it was really necessary for us to find a way to get the internet there and then broadcast it out to the community. So the project entailed working with the wireless companies and talking to them and understanding how this technology works and the different antennas and different radios and how to VHF frequency, it goes over obstacles much better than VHF, which is like direct line of sight. I mean, think about it like a laser beam. If there's a tree in the way, it doesn't work. So this kind of bounces up and hits the atmosphere and comes back down. So it has a nice arc to it, and so it can get over mountains and trees and stuff where other technologies might not be able to. Um, the shot we were trying to make, actually you can see it in this picture. This is Uzinki, okay? And this is a map of Uzinki and Kodiak. So this would have been the base station. I know it's kind of hard to see, but this is an island, and it's kind of right here. And then this is the island of Kodiak. It kind of goes like this. Well, this is Miller Point, and it comes out right here. And Kodiak has fiber. And we have a fiber network here. And we talked to the ranger station there for the state park. And not only were they interested in using TV Whitespace for the state park, but they were interested in putting an antenna there that would be owned by the Tribal Media Center in Zinke, and they would pay for the service there, which is, I think it's $200 a month for a gig, a gig service. So right now I think they're paying $3,500 a month, and they get 1.5 megabits per second download speed. And so by doing the TV Whitespace project, even regardless of funding, this was something that was going to pay for itself eventually anyway. So there's also a museum out here on the point that's not connected because the park is historical sites, a World War II defense fortress, basically. They can't run wires through the park or anything like that because it's a historical site. So when I talked to them about this, they realized, like, hey, if the state park were to use this, a lot of the state parks in Alaska are huge. Okay, like and they're basically just a parking lot and then wilderness. But they were talking about how some of their cabins and stuff, if they were to have access at the main ranger station, they could broadcast out throughout the parks to those remote cabins, and then those people would have better communication than just having a VHF radio, with the tower up. That's what they have now. So everybody got very interested in the project. The media center was interested in it because they would have access. The museum down at the point was interested. The state park was interested. And so it was a really cool project, but what's really interesting about it is we were doing not only a last mile solution to get from the library out to the community, we were also doing a middle mile solution to get from the broadband connection in Kodiak to the island. So it was an interesting project to work on, and I want to emphasize that it was very easy. All I had to do was give coordinates, and Carlson Wireless actually produced this one, but all of the different providers were able to produce a map, and they could tell me, like, oh, this will work, or we could use this antenna, or we could change the wattage on this antenna to make a longer shot, or we could direct the beam a little bit more so that it would make a better shot across the water. So even though this technology is primarily used to just go in a 360-degree circle from the point of broadcast, it can also be done as a beam. And so it works differently if you do it that way because you can cover a lot longer stretch of area. So we worked with the state park and developed an agreement with them. With the media center, we had to develop an agreement with them. Part of the grant that I was writing required it be a library, and the media center was a library. And originally, I worked for the museum, and we were going to broadcast from the museum, but unfortunately, we weren't able to because the grant required a library. So we partnered with the library in Zinke, and they were our entity for the community. But I will note that for a museum, I'm working on a project right now to develop a park in downtown Kodiak dedicated to repatriation efforts and respect for ancestral sites. that, but it's part of the museum, and it'll be sort of an exhibit away from the museum. And having a TV Whitespace broadcasting station at the museum, we have great internet, but at the park there's no infrastructure at all. There's not even electricity, so you could run a hotspot out there from the museum's internet, even though it's kind of across town. So it's a really interesting way. I know Kristen talked about it a little bit, how the museums could use it to light up different exhibits, even if they're not at the museum. Another thing that we were working on recently is the school board is looking into how can they get internet for their students, because the students right now, some of the best internet available is HughesNet, and it's about, I think about $250 a month where they are, and it's really slow and it has data caps. So when kids try, and it also has latency problems. So if they're trying to do a video conference, they just keep loading and loading and loading, and then they get data capped and then they can't use it. So the library shut their internet off at night, and there's no way for these kids to do their homework. And so it's become a really big problem, and people are migrating out of the villages because they can see that it's really important for their children to have a good education. And in Kodiak, they can get it, but in the village, they can't. And so having an access, the school gets good internet, so they could utilize their connection there and a TV Whitespace technology to hand out these units to the children, and sort of like a hotspot lending program, except for we don't have a cellular network at all. So the TV Whitespace really kind of bridges a gap in rural communities, and the equipment is not dramatically expensive, and much less than building a cellular network. I think the total price for the project I was working on with the two antennas, so it had two base stations, two receiver stations, and then I think we were bid for 5 or 6 actual receivers for the individual users. And so I think it ran up about $25,000 for everything. So dramatically less than installing a microwave system. This is something that a small community could potentially afford, and through grant money and stuff like that, we'll be able to put in place. There's no monthly charges. So once it was established in the park, it would be able to just pay that $200 a month for the gig service, and then shoot that over to the island, and just the cost of the equipment. So they would only pay that $200 a month, as opposed to the $3,500 a month that they're paying now for much worse service. They're paying for 1.5 gigabit, and you can get 1.5 megabit for $3,500 a month, and they can pay $200 for a gig using this equipment. So very rapidly, you can see how this pays for itself, and how the community benefits dramatically from it, because even the library has problems. People go down to the library and can't use the internet there because it's too slow. You hear that in every village, basically, and it's part of it's part of a problem of infrastructure in rural communities where the resources just aren't there to have people there to be the grant writers, to write big E-rate infrastructure funding grants and stuff like that. So TV Whitespace sort of bridges a gap there, and it's a really unique opportunity for rural communities to get connected. And talked through this slide already. I just wanted to mention that, so the tribe could actually use it. They were considering using it for their low-income members to, they would have their internet there that they pay for, and then be able to just give a tribal member that otherwise wouldn't have access to the internet one of the hotspots, and then they would be connected with the community. Another thing I ran across that it sort of just struck me as like, hey, this might be a good idea. And once I started looking into it, I found out people are doing it. I think in England is where they had a setup like this. But they're using TV Whitespace for the maritime community, and they were actually, because it's a wireless network, it doesn't require any hard lines or anything like that, and because of the nature of how the broadcast is live on boats and stuff like that. So it's a really interesting way to connect those communities, even if you're in Anchorage or something like that, where you won't necessarily be part of the harbor, or you're not paying any money. You just have your boat anchored up. You would still be able to access the internet and have access to all the library's resources from home, and the children would be able to do homework and stuff like that from their boat, in the harbor, which is a cool idea. And you're talking 10 miles, so even out in the vicinity. Yeah.
I was going to ask about the range. Has that been an issue for some more remote areas?
Yeah,
I know
so
that's
yeah,
a
definitely.
lot, but I think maybe that would
10
work.
kilometers, and I would say 6 miles.
We were able to stretch it out a little bit further on my project, but it had to do. Yeah, you lose some bandwidth on it. For real long stretches, like a 5 megahertz system would probably be a better choice, or 5 or 2.5 megahertz system. But you start talking about upping the price of this equipment too, and some of then you're getting very close into getting the licensed spectrum and having to be a full ISP to run the equipment. So you kind of like bypass that need by utilizing TV Whitespaces on licensed spectrum. So
Right.
it's a good way for a small community